So I'm Steph. I work in CST here with Farm Focus. I used to be a cash manager customer, and now I'm working with training and helping our customers. So what we're doing today is we're looking at the cash flow, which we now call plans in Farm Focus. And we're also going to look at the management reports as well, just showing you how they're set out and how you can filter and view them. So what we call the plans in Cash Manager, you used to go into your cash flow and you drop down the arrow to select the year, and then you select your plan or your cash flow, and then you would choose to revise or look at it. In Farm Focus, you probably had a look in here and you can see that everything is all together and it's sectioned out by years. So you're seeing everything. You don't have to search for anything. Now, you may have also noticed that with what we call working plans, so that's your main plan that all your actuals are going off, there are no gaps in between. And that's because they're working as a continuum. So they're flowing from one year to the next, to the next, to the next. Then underneath that, we have what we call baseline plans. They're read-only baseline plans. And this is where you want to take a snapshot of your budget at any given time. So a good example of that will be when you are happy with your budget, you're sure that this is what you want to do, you can set a baseline read-only plan for comparison further down the track. And the way that we're going to do that is by opening up the working plan. And you can see here that we've got a red revision line. On the left of that, we've got what's actually happened. So everything that's been coded and matched to invoices or just transactions that have been coded has flowed through into here. And on the right-hand side, we have our still to happen budgeted items. So when you want to set a baseline plan and you want to set it for comparisons, we're going to pop up to the top here. We've got a revision date box, drop down the arrow, select the last month of the previous financial year or the first month of this year, and we're setting it right back so that we are only seeing budgeted items. After that, I'm going to click the wee padlock here, and it's going to set the baseline for me. Confirm. You can have as many baseline plans as you want, and you can take them as often as you want throughout the year. So now we've got our new baseline plan. We want to do a comparison with, let's say I want to see how I am tracking. Was I pretty onto it with my budgeting this year? So I am going to pop up to the revision date box, pull that date back to where we currently are. So I've got a bit of an itchy nose here. And then we're going to come up here to our icons over at the top right. We've got print, compare, filter, view. I'm going to come up to compare, and it's asking me, what do I want to see on line 2? So I want to see the planned items on line 2. I'm going to select my year, and I'm going to select the plan that I want to compare against. So I'm going to go to my baseline current version. This is the most recent one I've created, and apply. And just like Cash Manager, you're going to see two lines. On the top line, we've got our actuals, and on the second line, we have got the budgeted items, what we were anticipating to happen. So at this point, you can come in and maybe make some changes going forward. Maybe, it's been a bit dry, so you're going to have to sell off some bulls a bit earlier than you thought, so you can move your stock around. And when you've finished looking at that comparison, you can just click this wee cross on the comparison filter box to get rid of it. Done. So I'll take you through a couple of these icons that we've got over the top here. With view, if we click on view, we can view either the financial year items in our cash flow. We can look at livestock stock units, totals, balances, and we can also see what is still remaining on hand. So I'm going to click show financial year items, and this allows you to see what has been paid for in this year that belongs in last year. And it also shows you future year items. So we'll show the financial year items and apply. And I'm just going to scroll down, expand that down actually. Right, anything that I can see here that has a little blue flag in the corner, that is telling me that the dollar value in the flag relates to last year. So it was invoiced in last year, paid in this year. So if you're looking at it for tax, you're trying to work out your tax, then come in and do your view, and you'll be able to see what belongs in last year. So we can turn that off. There we go. Now I'm going to show you how we can add items, add planned items to this budget. So I've got two different scenarios that I'm going to use. If you were watching the previous module about transactions and your setup, remember I set up a new extended code under my health and safety for my hazard code subscription. So I'm going to use my little chevrons to navigate my way around. I don't want to scroll all the way down through everything. So I'm going to collapse all of my categories using a single chevron at the left. There we go. And I'm going to drop down my farm expenditure. And I'm going to scroll down until I find my health and safety. There it is. And there is my new code, hazard code, that I set up. And it's got nothing in it yet. So going forward, I'm going to pay a monthly subscription of $49. And I don't want to enter it in each box. I'm just going to enter it in once, and then I'm going to copy it. So this is quite handy if you've got multiple items occurring throughout the year and you don't want to have to enter each one individually. So I can either just type in $49, done, or if I want to be more specific, I can go to add, and I can put more information in. So the payment date, the payment term, I can put a description in if I want to, go subscription. I can even choose the account that it's going to be coming out of if I've got multiple bank accounts. And if you were in module 1, we talked about cost tags. If I want to put a cost tag against it, maybe this is part of, it might even be a subscription for one of my revenue streams, I can put a management tag, or I can put a cost tag against it. And the quantity, say it's 1, and the unit price is $49, and it calculates the full amount for us. So we'll add that. And now I can see I have a planned item for January for my health and safety hazard code subscription. I can choose to either delete that planned item if I'm not happy with it, or I can edit it. I can either add another one if I want to, using that same code. I could add and put February's in, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to copy it because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to put in all that effort. So I'm going to pop back out, and in my hazard code amount that we see here, open that up again, I can copy. So it's going to ask me, how often do I want to copy it? And do I want it to end after a particular time? Maybe I'm only going to copy it for 3 months, but this is ongoing. So I'm going to copy it over the 4 remaining months of the year. And you can also choose to overwrite anything that's already in there. Maybe you're just making an amendment, or you can add it to an existing item. So I'm going to edit and apply, and there is my copied data. And I now have, for the remainder of the year, $245 excluding GST that's going to be going towards my subscription. Now I'm going to drop that back down, and we're going to come back into farm expenditure, and I'm going to show you how we can spread an amount. So let's say we're going to get some fert in, we're going to get a unit of phosphate, and it's going to cost us about 30 grand. We're going to defer those payments over 4 months, let's say. So I'm going to pop back down into my fert, and I'm coming down to my phosphate over here, and I'm going to go to add. And I'm going to put in a unit, so 30 tonne, add $1,000 per unit, per tonne. And you can even put a note on, maybe this is for a bit of pasture renewal. You can even put where on the farm this is being applied to. So if you've got particular paddocks, or you've got a bit of hill country that you can apply it to, you can put in the note there. So we'll add that. And now I can see it added amongst all of my other fert transactions that have already happened. So when it says A, it's an actual, it's actually happened, and a P is a plan. If you see something down in here, it says I, that means it's an invoice, because it's also picking up the invoices that are sitting on the left-hand side of your needs action screen. So I'm going to close that now and pop that in again. And now I'm going to spread it. So I'm going to defer that. I'm going to defer the full payment and pay it off over a couple of months. So I go to spread. And it's asking me how long do I want to spread it for. I could do it for 2, 3, 4, or 5. Can't go any higher than that because that is the end of my financial year. We're only working within the year. We can't go into a future year. So I'm going to do it to 5 months, add to any existing items that are already in there, and apply. And it has split out that 30K over the next 5 months. So now I know I'm going to be paying 6K over the next 5 months each month. So that is how to add an item. If I want to clear all that out, I've decided I'm actually not going to do the phosphate. I'm going to leave it for next year. I'm going to go click on the first button and I'm going to click clear. And at this point, it's going to ask me, do I want to clear this cell and all of the other cells that are to the right of it? And I say, yes, I do, because I don't want to do them one at a time. So I go, yes, and it's cleared all of them out for me. Let's take a look at a stock. We'll take a look at the livestock. Right, so the livestock grid in Farm Focus, I reckon it's a whole lot easier to read than it was in Cash Manager. So when you first migrate over from Cash Manager, you may recall that you were asked if you wanted to bring across your opening figures from Cash Manager or if you want to do them manually in here. So I've got some opening figures. And again, I can use my chevrons to drop down, right down to my extended codes and down to the events. So financial and non-financial events, and I can see what's been happening. If I want to add some births at this point, you can add them in stock activity and needs action, but you can also add them in here if you want to. So I'm going to go down to my progeny. Do I have any progeny? Mixed age cows, 2-year heifers, 1-year heifers. Here we go, heifer calves. Here we go. And I'm going to births. And let's say I've got some in October. All I'm going to do is double click into that box. Sorry, single click into that box and go to add. And then it's going to take me to that non-financial event. And I can pop in my dates. I can change the non-financial event if I've clicked into the wrong box. Maybe I clicked into death instead. So I can change it back to birth. It's already picked up that the code is a heifer. I can change that if I want to. And then I can pop in mum's code. And I can add tags if I want to as well and pop in the quantities. So we'll save that. And now we have 30 births in our heifer calves. And so that has added to the tally, the total stock that we've got on hand for our calves. So I'm going to show you how you can change your opening figures if you need to. So we've got some 1-year heifers. They've aged up out of the heifer calves. So I'm going to take you to settings. Up the top here on the right, we've got a settings cog. And I'm going to livestock on the left. And this is where you can adjust those opening numbers. So if you have migrated across and you can see that there are a lot of negatives in your opening column, you can come in here and change them. When you do change them, so let's say I've got some bull calves, I'm just going to put 10 in there. When you do change them, just be aware that it is going to throw up a red flag on that event. There it is. And that is, it's really just, it's telling you it's been adjusted, and it's really just for your accountant so that they can make any adjustments to your stock values if they need to. And then that flows through. So what we've got here at the end of the year, we've got our closing for the current year and our opening for the next year. And you'll notice that you will have your aging up is occurring. So our bull calves, we closed with 68 this year, and we're opening with minus 68 R1 bulls next year. So just bear in mind that they don't age out until the new year. They're not going to age out at the end of the year. They're going to age out in the new year. So that's what we are seeing there. I'm going to drop those all down now and show you how you can view your stock units and also your balances. So I'll just close that down. And we've got the little eye icon again. And I want to see my stock units and my monthly balances. So now we've got, very similar to Cash Manager, we now have the monthly balances. So it's showing us that at the end of October, we had 55. And then at the end of December, obviously we should have put some coming in somewhere, but we've got negative 68. And you can just switch that off if you like. And then down the bottom, we've got your total stock units. And that's broken up into beef or sheep or your dairy stock units as well. And also deer if you're trading in deer. Okay, so that is the Livestock Grid. Dairy Forecaster, if you are a dairy farmer, you can set this up within your codes. So when you set up your milk production code, if you haven't already got one, that's where it's going to ask you who you're supplying, whether it's Fonterra, Synlait, or Westland, I think it is, or other. If you're supplying one of the smaller companies, then it's just selected as other. Are you the owner? Are you contracting? Are you share milking? What's your percentage? All of that you can set it up here. And then this is where you're going to put in your production. We'll take it back, the revision date back to the beginning. So here's all your projected production. And I know that just the other day, we all got notified about that increase in the price from Fonterra. So when they do that, we can update the Fonterra prices here. So we can click that button and now we can update it. And now I'm going to set my revision date back to now so that I can see what I'm actually doing. So I'll set it back to December. And just bear in mind that when you are coding your milk production transactions, you do need to put in your milk solids so that it can flow through here, and then you've got an accurate idea of what your average is. And any of your base rates, any increases in the payments, that sort of thing. Cool, so that is the Dairy Forecaster. Now we're going to look at our management plans. Actually, just before we do that, I'll just, sorry, I forgot to tell you. If you've migrated from Cash Manager, when we were looking at the last module, I sent a chat in to the team here saying, I've just migrated, where's my budget? Because it's not here. When you have just migrated, all of your budgets that you've selected will be sitting down here in what we call the drafts. And so you can promote them to being the working plan simply by clicking on the wee three dots at the side. And I can duplicate it as a draft. I can change the plan year. I can set it as the working plan, which is your main budget. I can archive it if I don't want to see it, but I still want to be able to access it, or I can delete it. So I'm going to set as the working plan. And what you're going to see here is that this plan at the top is going to come back down as a draft, and my draft is going to come up the top as a working plan. So it doesn't delete what was previously in the working plan. It just moves it down so you're not losing that information. So you can change your plans from time to time throughout the year, or maybe you've got a what-if scenario that you're working on, so you want to see if it's realistic or not compared with your actuals. You can do that too. So I'm going to set it as a working plan for 21-22. And you'll see in just a second that it's going to pop down. There it is. Okay, so it's telling me the name is the working plan. It's telling me who created it and when. So you've got like a bit of an audit log of when things are moving around in your plans. And it's telling me what draft I've used to create it. So the draft was buy new farm, and it's telling me that that is the draft that's been used. So if I open that up again, and now I can see this budget going forward. And again, if I want to do a comparison with my actuals, I can set the revision date back, take that baseline plan, pull the revision date back to current, and then I can do that comparison like we did earlier. Right, so those are your drafts. And now we're just going to have a quick look at the management reports. So all of the reports that you had in Cash Manager are available in Farm Focus. So we had reports under cash flow, under transactions, under debtors, wage book, if you were using it, you had all those reports. Everything has come across into one spot, apart from, of course, the debtors and wage book, which we no longer provide. So all of your reports are in the same spot now. I'll take you through the basic how to set up the report, and they're all pretty much the same in terms of selecting a year, what you can filter, is it financial or payment view. So we'll look at the analysis by code report. And I'm selecting this year, so 2021-22, and I'm going to select my date range. It is viewable by month rather than a particular date, and I want to look at my payment dates. So I can apply that. Now, this is a huge report. I mean, this is just, I haven't even dropped down to see all the individual transactions yet. If I do that now using my chevrons, there is every single transaction this year that relates to these codes. And I don't want to see all of that. It's pages and pages and pages of information. Let's say I just want to look at my income. That's all I want to look at. I'm going to pop over here to the icons on the right-hand side of my screen. I've got an upside down looking triangle. This is my filter. So I'm going to click on that. I can filter by the bank accounts. I can filter by tags, which is actually quite exciting. And I can filter right down to an extended code. So I'm going to filter by using my income. So I select income, going to apply. And here is all of my income. Beef, earthworks, dairy, all of it, everything there. But let's say I don't want to see all of my income. I just want to see, say, my earthworks. So I'm going back to my filter. I'm going to drop down that arrow for my income, and I'm going to select earthworks and apply. And there is my income from my earthworks. I've got some cartage, I've got some excavator work. There it is there. And so I can filter even right down to the extended code. I don't want to see earthworks. I just want to see my cartage. And there it is. So there is my total expenditure, income from my cartage business that I run. Now you can also filter by tag. So I'm going to reset that filter, and I'll show you the tags. This is what I was talking about before, when you've got cost tags set against something like a feed pad upgrade, maybe some fencing, reno on the house or the shed, whatever, and you can see every single dollar that's applied to it across all of your extended codes. So you don't have to search just under one code and then add them up manually. It's going to do it for you. So let's take a look at this feed pad upgrade, or the runoff actually. Well, actually, no, which one should we choose? I'm going to choose the feed pad and apply. And I'm going to drop it down. This is probably not the best example to show because I haven't actually got anything that I've applied to the feed pad, so we'll try the runoff instead. That's better. There we go. Right, so I've got a cost tag here, and across all of my extended codes and categories, it's filtered out anything that I've put that cost tag to. So I can see that at the bottom, this runoff so far, my total expenditure has been a little over $3,000, and that's across all of my rates. All of my codes. It doesn't have to be a particular code. So that's a really exciting aspect of being able to filter right down to drill down and see all that data. I would definitely suggest that you use this report. It's very helpful to see, especially with those projects. Now, all of the reports, you're able to print them, and you generally, for all of them, you've got that filter option as well. So we have the cash flow detail. The cash flow summary is just going to take you back to your grid. It's just going to take you back to your budget. The economic farm surplus report, this is a very helpful report, and I'll show you a few things about this particular report. So we can look at the display as either milk production or meat and fibre. So we'll look at milk production. And this is where I was talking in the last module about your KPIs, your key performance indicators. It's really important you get those right, because if you come in here and you think, well, that's not right, that's not what I thought, go back and look at the code that it relates to and just check what have you got that KPI set to. So we've got a new feature in here also for our sheep and beef farmers, where you can see your total production with your carcass weight. So you'd be able to see that, and with your sorry, I'm just going to get rid of this because I've still got that filter on. There we go. Then you'll be able to see right down to your extended codes what your production is. And you can make adjustments as well within the EFS report. So let's, for instance, say that you've got either you have some stock on grazing, you can minus them out because they're not actually yours, you're just grazing them. Or if you've got stock off farm that's grazing, then you can add them in because that is your stock. So we're going to cancel that. And we'll head on with the reports. We've got the P&L, profit and loss report, the tax invoice summary report that we looked at just before, and we've also got the trends report. Just bear in mind that all of your data from Cash Manager has come over. So if you're wanting to look at previous year's data, you can do so either in the analysis by code report or in the trends report. And with the trends report, you can go back to 5 years worth of data at a time. So you're looking at 5-year blocks, and you can go back as far as you want. So let's see if I've only got 1 year. So what you would see is your actuals, and then you see the 5 columns, just like you do in Cash Manager, so you can see how you're tracking. And again, we've got our filters, and you can see either GST or GST inclusive or exclusive here. So the trends report, the variance report, and the year-to-date variance reports as well, also showing you all that data from previous returns. And finally, with the management reports, we're looking at GST returns. Now, the great thing about the GST returns in Farm Focus is that you no longer have to create a new return each time. It does it for you. And you'll also see that we have a due date as well. So it's integrated with IRD to get those dates. So you don't need to go into IRD to find out when it's due. Just come into Farm Focus while you're coding and have a quick look. We also have the ability to file our returns directly from Farm Focus. So we'll take a look at one of our returns. So it looks pretty much the same as Cash Manager, a little bit, a few more lines than there was in Cash Manager, but we've still got our GST number, the period, due date, are we payments or invoice basis, all of our sales and expenditure. And one of the great things that I like about this particular, the Farm Focus GST is, in Cash Manager, we had the option to update the cash book, the GST components, or the codes, listening by codes. This is all in here now, so we don't have to choose which one we want to view if we want to look at all those lines. We can just drop down this arrow next to coded lines, and here are all my coded lines for that return. And I can sort this by date, other party, description, code, and amount, which is fantastic. I was working on a Cash Manager database the other day, and I had printed out the code list report, and I had it up on my screen, and I couldn't sort it because I wanted to check to see that the codes were all correct, and I wanted to see all of one particular code together instead of having to go down and find it and tick it off. So this is what I love about the GST returns, is that you can go through and you can check off if everything, if you want to check and see everything is has been coded correctly. And then once you've finished with that, you can print it off up here with the printer icon. It's going to download it first, and then you can print it. You can choose to print the GST return, or you can choose to print the GST return including the coded lines. So good idea to do that. Print it off, or save it on your computer, because if you have to make changes later on, it's really good to have that original GST return. So definitely do print it off. Now, when you are ready to file this return, you can either choose to file it yourself, or we can file it for you. So we're going to pop down to the Save button. We've got a little blue drop-down button next to it. I can choose to either save the final, which is going to lock that return into Farm Focus, and then pop into IRD myself on the website and fill in all those details, or I can save the final and then file it through Farm Focus. And what that's going to do is it's just going to give me a warning, making sure that I understand GST terms and conditions, which I do. And it's going to take me through to my IRD login. So I'll log in, and then it's going to ask me to authorize Farm Focus to file my returns on my behalf. So you click the button that says authorize, and that's it, it's done. So we'll pop back out of there. And that's the only time you're going to have to do it, is just that first time. After that, when you say save and file with IR, it does it straight away. And you'll be able to see what's going on with that return by coming in to, where are we? Coming into the return itself, and over on the right, you can see here my IR status. What you'll see is a wee IRD logo, and when you first submit it, it'll say submitted, and it's got a timestamp, so we can see the date and the time that it's been done. And then after about 24 hours, the IRD will process it, and then you come back in here and you'll see the IRD logo, and it will say processed. And again, it's got a timestamp on it, so you know exactly the date and the time that it's been processed by IRD. Just a bit of a warning here. If you are leaving it to the last minute to file your return, like I used to today, don't file it from Farm Focus because it's still got 24 hours to process. You will get paid by the IRD for filing a late filing. So if you are due today, just go ahead and file it the way you normally would if you haven't already filed it. Otherwise, the next return you can start filing from Farm Focus. Okay, so that is the GST return. Now we're just going to look at the livestock reports. We've got the livestock rec report. And so it's just giving us, you know, the openings, all our non-financials, and then our financials that have happened throughout the year, what's aged out at the end of the year, what's aged in at the end of the year, or the beginning of the new year. Just like in Farm Focus, Cash Manager, you can filter by the stock type, so whether it's dairy, beef, sheep, deer, whatever you've got, and apply. And then we've got our total stock units on hand as well. So, you know, if you want to go and see how your stocking rate's looking, then you can come down the bottom here. If you are in dairy, I'll show you quickly dairy. Then it's going to show you your milking animals as well. And that's based on the breeding status that you've got set for all those codes in your codes list. So just make sure you've got the breeding status set correctly, especially for your milkers. Righty-ho, so that is the livestock rec report. Now the livestock summary, that's going to take you straight to the plans. So it's just taking you to your livestock grid. The livestock trading report, this is one of those reports I was talking about earlier where it's really important you get that information right. So your stock values and weights and stock units and yields, make sure it's all correct. So have a quick look at that one. Yeah, it's just having a think about it. So what we'll see is all the information that has come from the transactions that we've coded. If, for instance, you find that the weights are not looking quite as you thought they should, have a quick look at your weight production, the weights you've got in your production and settings, or if there are weights missing, have a look and see which codes they are missing against and pop into your actual items that have occurred and amend those weights here. So there is the livestock trading report. And I think that that is actually us done. So if you have any questions, you can pop down to the bottom. We've got a chat bubble there. And because there are a few of us on here, I won't be unmuting our mics, but definitely if you have any questions, please do chat in here. We've still got a good 5 minutes left. And then I'll do my best to answer your questions.